Well, hello again. Good to see you. I'm Octavia Kuransky, and this is the second in a six-part series from the Centerpoint Business Clinic, hosted by Centerpoint Public Library. Thank you, Centerpoint Public Library. A little bit about me. I'm actually the administrator for a Facebook business group called 35215. 35215 supports local business by providing a free listing service. You can list your products and services there. We make announcements about upcoming business conferences, new funding for business, and yes, trainings such as this one today. So welcome. This discussion happens about once a month, and last month, in the first installment, we discussed 6 reasons why you might not be getting enough business, or another way to put it is how to get more business. This month, we are going to be talking about the fascinating subject of competition. Now, I wanted to talk about competition because as a former business instructor and a former business owner, never talked about competition. I went to a lot of trainings myself, and it just never came up. And it's kind of not realistic because, especially for small local business, competition can affect your bottom line or even whether or not you stay in business. So today we're going to have that conversation. I'd like to accomplish a couple of things during the discussion today, and here they are. The first one is I'd like to give you some information about what competition is in business and how it functions. Because in my experience, when we have information about how something works, it tends to affect how we interact with that thing. And I want you to be able to interact in a competitive market with a high level of confidence. And I want you to be able to act on the best behalf of your business, regardless of how competitive the market gets. And that involves getting enough information. So that's the first thing I want to accomplish. The second is to offer you some observations about how your competitors can actually help you develop your business. Yes, in the real world, your competitors can actually help you develop your business. And it's very simple. I'm going to offer you 3 observation tips. But first, we have to talk about this, how we think about competition thing. And there's some good news I'm happy to report. Competition in business is not the same as it is in sports. In sports, there's this kind of head-to-head combat situation in which there is one winner who walks away with all the endorsement contracts and everybody else has to go home empty-handed. But in business, it's almost exactly the opposite. Business likes a lot of players on the field, and it likes a lot of winners. And by winners, I mean businesses offering real products and services. And that is the difference between competition in sports and competition in business. Now, this is good also for the consumer. And face it, you're a consumer too, even before you're a business owner. And I'm a consumer. And we like choice. As a matter of fact, that's what competition is. It is an indicator that there are a lot of businesses offering products and services. And that's a good thing. Because don't you want more than one car dealership to shop from? Of course you do. Don't you want more than one market to shop from? Of course you do. One pet groomer, you want another barber to choose from if you have to. We all like choice. And so we want many companies in business offering different products and services so that we can have choice. That means, though, that it's not really your decision whether or not there is going to be competition. There is. What is your decision is how you're going to handle it. And there is a best way to handle it. I'm going to give you now those 3 tips on what to observe in your competitors' practices. And this is going to become your best practice for handling competition. So I hope you have your pencil and paper ready, which I always recommend that you do, as you know, because we're going to get started. Now, the first thing I'm going to suggest that you do is to study your competition's practices. Your competitors can do your research for you and save you the time, expense, and heartbreak of trial and error, which is how a lot of small business owners learn, trial and error. Let's say you have a restaurant, and let's say there are many restaurants around you, which is very often the case. You'll notice that in certain industries, very similar businesses tend to group together, like car dealerships tend to group together, restaurants tend to group together. This is to enhance foot traffic, which you want. So let's say you're a newish restaurant and there are other restaurants around you and they have comparable food, not as good as yours, of course, but comparable, and they serve a comparable consumer. That is, the typical consumer is about the same income level and taste and has about the same expectations. And you notice that all of the restaurants in your area, and we've considered them to be successful and they've been around a long time, all of the restaurants tend to be open on the same day and at the same time. This is information. They've done the research for you. If all of them are open on the same day, about the same time, it must mean that those are optimal days and times. Now, that doesn't mean you cannot be open different days and different times. Many rules in business can be bent, and some of them can be broken. But my point is, you want to notice what your competitors are doing, because if they've been around a long time and they are successful, something is being done correctly. And then you can make adjustments according to your own business after you've made this observation. You may want to stay open an hour later or open an hour earlier, for example, to capture some stray business. But what you want to do is notice the flow of business, and you want to crunch the numbers, because sometimes it's more optimal to be closed than it is to be open. But you want a good starting place, and noticing what your competitors are doing is a good starting place. Okay, number 2, I want you to take notice of the pricing of your competitors. If you notice that you have many competitors selling what you're selling, and we're going to talk about product for just a minute, selling what you're selling, and they are selling to a similar market, similar supplement, and at a similar price, that's probably the correct pricing for that product, for that market at that time. That's probably correct. Now, that doesn't mean that you cannot charge more. But if you charge more, if you need to charge more, or you want to charge more, you're going to have to justify it. And I'm going to give you an example of a good way to go about that and a better, not so good way to go about that. All right, so a conversation about pricing should go like this. Let me give you the example. You're sitting down with a customer, and she says, well, I've been taking this supplement for some time now, and it works really well, and it's $10 less. I don't know why I should change. You probably had this conversation. I know that I have. Here's what an answer you might get from an inexperienced salesperson. Well, it's a really good product, and I take it and my wife take it, and we both like it, and it's a good company. So I think if you tried it, you'll like it. You've probably gotten that kind of answer from salespeople. Listen to this answer. Yes, our product is a little more expensive up front. However, clinical studies show that our product is 25% more effective when taken as directed. You can take less of our product. You don't have to take our product as often. So in the long term, it may even save you money, and you may get a better result. I ask you, which is the stronger argument? Yes, you can charge more. Your competitor's pricing is just a suggestion. Yes, you can charge more, but be prepared to back it up with value. What is the value of your product? And to do that, you have to know the value of your product, what it can do. You also have to know what your competitor's value is and what it can do in order to have such a detailed conversation. I am thinking of Apple Computer right now when I talk about price and value. Apple Computer was for decades considered the most valuable company not in the United States, not in the Northern Hemisphere, but in the world. Not because it had the biggest bottom line, although they were making tons of money, don't get me wrong. But they were considered the most valuable company because they had such a loyal customer base. Loyal customer base is absolutely priceless. You don't want a customer who is going to skip on you just because somebody is willing to sell less, which is why you never want to compete on price. There's always somebody waiting to offer that product for $3 more. You don't want that kind of customer. You want Apple-type customers who are going to wait for your product, look for your product, and only be satisfied if they have your product. And the only way you can get that kind of loyalty from a client base is not based on price, it's based on value. So understand what your product can do, the value it brings, understand your competitor's product, the value it brings, so that you can have a real conversation with your consumers and build that loyal customer base. Number 3, I want you to pay attention to the branding of your competitors. Do not try to imitate the branding of your competitors. I see this a lot in small business owners. They see some customer that's similar, and so they want to imitate the packaging and the messaging of that other company. This is a mistake. You want your product to be unique because you are looking for your customers. I'm going to use Apple again as an example. Steve Jobs, if you've ever read his autobiography, Steve Jobs put as much money into the design of Apple products as he did into their performance. The product has to perform, that's a given. But it was also very important to him about the aesthetics of the product. And Apple products are very unique looking. They're minimalist in design, they're very sleek and futuristic looking, they look expensive. He was very concerned with the look of his product. It delivers a message, and it is distinguishable from any other product on the market, and that's what you want. You want a customer who's going to be able to walk down the aisle practically blindfold and pick your product out of a lineup. When you go into Starbucks, you don't feel like you're in Dunkin' Donuts. When you go into Publix, you don't feel like you're in Aldi's. Now they sell similar products perhaps, but they have a different look, a different feel, and they have a different reputation. Develop your own unique look, feel, and reputation. And along with value, this is how you will develop a loyal customer base. Well, that's not all there is, but that's all there is for today. In summary, whether or not there's competition or not is not your decision, but how you handle that competition is absolutely your decision and your responsibility. And I hope that I have said something today to make you think more deeply about your competitors and to be more observant and let your competitors help you become better business owners and long-term business owners. Now, next month, I was going to talk about financing and what it takes to get a loan these days. But I actually got several requests for a talk on time management, which is very important for small business owners because often small business owners work in the business as employees as well as on the business. And so time management and finding that critical piece of time during the week to work in the business is very important. So I think next month I'll talk about time management. By the way, you can reach me by going to 35215 and inboxing me, or you can email me at info.35215@gmail.com. That's info.35215@gmail.com. I'm Octavia. I want to thank Center Point Public Library again for this opportunity. This is the Center Point Business Clinic. I wish you every prosperous moment for the next few weeks till I see you again. I'll see you next month. Thanks.